Every time we access sensitive data online, we rely on a digital gatekeeper, an authentication layer designed to verify our identity before letting us through. But sometimes that gatekeeper is entirely absent. Recently, the state of Maine was forced to take its official data breach reporting portal offline after a bizarre security incident. Unknown actors successfully published massive data breach notifications on the state's website, claiming that major tech companies like Discord and VRChat had compromised millions of users. The companies quickly confirmed the reports were entirely fabricated. The portal was built with a catastrophic design flaw. It operated on a pure honor system, requiring absolutely zero identity verification or authentication from anyone submitting a report. By leaving the front door wide open, this missing lock turned a government transparency tool into a publicly funded weapon for spreading disinformation and triggering market panic. If an official government system can be exploited simply because it forgot to check IDs at the door, we have to look much closer at the gatekeepers we actually trust to protect our most sensitive networks. This brings us to a scenario where a lock technically existed, but it was completely broken. A recent discovery in the popular forum software PHPB revealed a critical vulnerability hiding in plain sight. Normally, a user submits a password, the system checks it, and hands back a digital token, a VIP pass. But in PHPB, a malicious HTTP request slides right past verification, and the system generates a valid token anyway. With a single basic web request, anyone with moderate technical skills could instantly grant themselves full administrator control over a forum, no password required. This severe blind spot sat quietly in the open source code, used by thousands of websites for an entire decade, from 2014 to 2026. The tech industry often assumes that code running without incident for years must be safe. The reality is that legacy software frequently harbors the most devastating vulnerabilities. Most cybercriminals favor loud and destructive tactics, which differ wildly from the terrifying strategic patience of state-sponsored espionage. Enter Velvet Ant, a Chinese hacking group that managed to stay completely hidden inside a major organization's Linux infrastructure for nearly 10 years. Linux PAM and OpenSSH act as a fortified toll booth for remote access. Velvet Ant subtly swapped these with backdoored versions, hard-coded to accept a universal magic password, allowing attackers to slip straight into the network, bypassing all security checks. Because the underlying system itself was lying to the administrators, the hackers survived multiple security audits and software upgrades without raising a single alarm. When an adversary successfully rewrites the foundational layer of authentication, every subsequent security tool and protocol built on top of it becomes entirely useless. Modern defense requires a completely different mindset: assume breach and zero trust. Organizations must operate under the assumption that their internal networks are already compromised and implicitly trust no user or device. This means deploying tools like file integrity monitoring, which constantly scans the system to detect if core architectural files, like those Linux authentication modules, have been silently modified. This logic extends far beyond corporate servers. On a global scale, entire nations are realizing they can no longer blindly rely on foreign digital infrastructure to secure their data. We see this playing out with the French startup Mistral AI. Recently hitting a €20 billion valuation, the company represents a definitive push by Europe to establish digital sovereignty by building its own independent, trusted artificial intelligence foundation. Real security, whether protecting a solitary data center or a continent's entire technological ecosystem, demands actively constructing and verifying your own gatekeepers rather than passively inheriting them. This concept mirrors the recent announcement of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake for the Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo is bypassing the standard remaster, which merely upgrades textures on old code, to build a true remake from the ground up. This involves an entirely modern engine and reorchestrated assets designed for 4K hardware. Whether protecting a decade-old server, securing a nation's AI network, or adapting a landmark game for modern performance, patching over the past is insufficient. Long-term security requires stripping away legacy code and rebuilding the entire system from scratch.